Why am I lying about all this, too, just so I can go home?
You're not lying.
I am lying to you. I am lying to you.
Robert Davis was an 18-year-old high school senior, brought into the interrogation room alone, lied to, and told falsely that his DNA was at a murder scene.
I swear to God all my life right now that I did not do nothing. All of this mattered. I had nothing to do with this.
He was told that he would get the death penalty if he didn't confess. And then police fed him every fact about this crime over and over again. This is a story of a false confession. It's a story of how false confessions happen and how they could happen to you or me.
So I want to accomplish something. I want my story to be able to change people's mindsets and change laws.
Robert Davis's story happens in a small town called Crozet, Virginia. Middle class, a lot of peaceful streets. It's the kind of place that didn't regularly experience murder or the kinds of things that happened in Robert Davis's case. The whole community of Crozet is up in arms. Who would do this to Nola Charles? And pretty soon the police settle on some suspects. There's another family that lives on Kling Lane, the same street where Nola Charles's house had been, the Fugit family. The Fugit family had 2 teenage kids, Rocky Fugit, who was 19, and his sister Jessica, who was 15. Jessica was friends with one of Nola Charles's other kids, one of her older children. Jessica didn't like Nola Charles. She didn't like her friend's mom. We know these confessions are true because Rocky and Jessica were able to lead the police to a snow-covered field in Crozet, where the police found an iron bar that had been used to bludgeon Nola Charles before she'd been stabbed. So when it comes to Rocky and Jessica, case closed. But that's not where the story ends. So Robert Davis, 18 years old, is brought into the police station at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's there by himself, a high school senior, and he's placed into an interrogation room. And the videotape starts rolling.
Robert, you're going to be charged. You're charged with the murder of Nola Charles, of Thomas Charles. You're going to be charged with attempted murder of the 2 Charles daughters, Katie and Wendy. Now it's really gotten serious, hasn't it?
Robert reacts the way any of us in this situation would react. He says, "What are you talking about? I couldn't do this." And he starts asking for ways to prove his innocence.
I will take a polygraph test right now to prove to you that I did not have nothing to do with this.
These police officers have a polygraph, but they tell Robert that they don't. And they don't let him try to prove his own innocence. The officers say to him, "We found your DNA at the crime scene." Now, this isn't true. It's a lie. But in the United States, police are allowed to lie about the evidence during interrogations. But Robert doesn't know that. Most people don't know that. He knows he's never been in the Charles house. But somehow, these police officers are telling him that they believe his DNA was there. They say to him, "We're not allowed to lie to you about the evidence." So they're actually lying to him about a lie. The interrogation continues. It's overnight. By this time, it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. And the officers say to Robert, "If you don't confess, you'll face the ultimate punishment, the death penalty. But if you do cooperate, if you do tell us what happened, maybe you'll be looking at as few as 5 to 10 years. Any one of us would do what Robert Davis did in that situation." He confessed. And that's when the officers start feeding him information for him to incorporate into a confession.
I held her down when they tied her up.
Yeah.
And then I hit her 2 times because they said if I didn't, it would be...
Wait a minute, now I got somebody else clubbing her, Robert. I got someone else doing that act. You did another act. You know what that act is. And we know. And that's the thing that has you, something on it that's yours.
What would that be?
Robert, I'm gonna come straight out and tell you what I'm getting. All right, since you're not gonna tell me. All right, you did another act.
They tell Robert who he was with. They have to give him the names, Rocky and Jessica. Robert tries to tell a story in which he and Rocky and Jessica entered Nola Charles's home through the back door, but actually the evidence is that the entry occurred through the front door. Robert tries to tell a story in which the crime happened on the first floor of the house. He never went upstairs. But the police have to say, no, Robert, you went upstairs.
Did you or did you not stab that woman?
Robert finally has to be told by the police that Nola died from being stabbed. All this happens over the course of about 5 or 6 hours, and by the end of the interrogation, just as the sun is starting to come up, Robert looks up at his interrogators, and he says to them,
Tonight? Today, I doubt it.
Today you done it.
Now, you'll see a judge Monday.
Why am I lying about all this too? Just so I can go home.
You're not lying.
I am lying to you. I am lying to you. Full front to your face. I am lying to you.
one of the clearest recantations I've ever seen.
During the interrogation, it was really cold in that room. And during my bathroom breaks and stuff like that, Detective Randy Sneed would tell me when we were away from the cameras that if I didn't tell them what they wanted to hear, they would lock my mom up and put my little brother in foster care. So that's one of the reasons why after such a long interrogation of being frightened and then being put in shackles and stuff like that, and being denied my medicine and all that, I went ahead and lied to the detectives and told them what they wanted to hear, because I really didn't want my mom or my little brother to have to go to prison or foster care. And at this time, now I know that the cops were lying the whole time.
Reporters' interest was piqued, and news stories started to come out about Robert Davis. Could this man have been wrongly convicted? Steve and I became involved from the Center on Wrongful Convictions, and we reviewed Robert Davis's interrogation video and wrote a report analyzing it, explaining how the tactics that we saw on Robert Davis's interrogation video mirror the tactics that are used to extract false confessions in other cases around the country. Even law enforcement experts, people who train police officers how to interrogate, eventually looked at Robert Davis's interrogation video and concluded that it was garbage, that the confession was unreliable, and that there had been a grave miscarriage of justice. Just as all of these experts' voices were being heard, and there was really a surge of momentum gathering, one more thing happened. Another letter, this time not from Rocky Fugit, but from his sister, Jessica. She, too, felt the pangs of conscience. And she, too, wrote a letter explaining that Robert Davis had nothing to do with the murder of Nola Charles. She had just identified him in an attempt to spread the blame around to as many people as possible. She thought that would help herself. It didn't, of course. It only hurt Robert.
What I wanted to do when I first got out was go see my mom. What first happened when I got out was I walked right back in because the media was there, and I was nervous and I thought I was doing something wrong, even though I knew I was given a pardon. I was just scared. So I walked back in and composed myself without the tears and then spoke to the media, and then went and saw my mom. She told me after the fact that she didn't recognize me in the suit, but it was the greatest thing that is my best memory right now, because, you know, I got to see my mom while she was alive, and I got out on her birthday. So that was definitely something special for me. I remember that I was sitting in my girlfriend, who's now my fiance's house, and I got a phone call from a lawyer, Steve, and he said, as of such and such time, you're an absolutely free man. You got an absolute pardon. You don't have probation or anything anymore. I went on Facebook Live and cut off my ankle bracelet, gave a little speech, and it was really amazing. It was definitely another really good feeling that I'll never forget.
It should have been obvious in 2003, the moment those words came out of Robert Davis's mouth, that the confession was false. The whole story had to be fed to Robert. That's a red flag for unreliability. These interrogation techniques that we saw being used on Robert Davis are used in interrogation rooms around the country every day. Bills are just being introduced now in New York and a few other states to ban deception during interrogations, to prohibit police officers from lying about the evidence like they did to Robert Davis. But Virginia did take one step after Robert Davis's exoneration. The state of Virginia just enacted a new law requiring interrogations to be videotaped. You see, in 2003, there was no requirement that any of this be caught on video. It was Robert's good luck that this police department and these officers decided to tape what they were doing to him, but it wasn't required. And if we didn't have the tape, Robert Davis would still be in prison to this day.
We've been engaged for, I guess, 2 months now, 2-3 months. And yeah, we're about to move into a new house away from where we live now and start our life. Once we finish moving, we're going to plan the wedding. You know, I want to succeed in life with many things. I want to get an education for a trade or something like that, because I wasn't given that opportunity while I was locked up. So I'd like to go speak at more places. I'd like to write my story down in a book.
And guess what? I'm a free man. I'm a free man. When you see me out and about, come give me a hug, whatever. Congratulate me. I don't care. I'm a free man. I'm so happy.